Garrett, thank you so much for joining me on the Beyond Insurance podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, I know you've known Beyond Insurance and Scott for a number of years, but for those that may not know who you are or who TechAssure is, do you want to go ahead and dive into your background a little bit? Give us like a two to 3 minute overview of who you are and how you got into this industry and in this space specifically.
All right, I'll do my best for 2 minutes because it's a long, winding road. So my name's Garrett Droege. I'm the executive director, CEO of an organization called TechAssure. TechAssure, very simply, is a retail broker network of brokers that specialize in what we call technology-related risk. It's really anything in the innovation ecosystem. It's insuring tech companies, life science companies, could be cyber risk for every other industry vertical. So it's just anything that technology touches. That's what our members specialize in. And so my background, I was a retail broker prior to this role, and I developed a technology practice group. I sort of came from the tech industry, also came from the entertainment industry. And so when I got into the insurance industry, I was really not qualified for writing most accounts, but technology companies would talk to me because I spoke their language and they were young like me and I could get in the door. And so I ended up building a really good book of business in that sector and then joined TechAssure and then really stepped on the gas with what I was able to do. So that's sort of my way into the industry.
hmm And so when we think about this, and what I find so exciting is insuretechs technology, obviously that's not going away and it's only getting bigger and bigger, and investments in technology and technology related resources. You continue to hear, they're making headlines almost weekly, if not daily, with these large organizations. So I guess my very first question for you is, what really is that current state of technology enabled organizations when it comes to insurance and risk management? Like, where are we today?
All right. So, I mean, you hit on a couple things there. Yeah, insuretech investment not going anywhere. I think 3 billion in Q1 of 2021, which is insane. It was already like 8 billion last year. So we're, do the math. We're poised to break that. Um, you know, Today, what we say, back when TechAssure started 20 years ago, it was technology companies, IT companies. Today, every company is a tech company. You're either a tech producing company or you're a tech enabled company. And so every company out there has a technology risk component to their profile. So obviously the hot topic in that right now is cyber, ransomware in particular, because that's the big issue with regards to technology exposure. Organizations all the time are getting hit with that. What happened with Colonial Pipeline, a week ago. So, I think that's something everybody should be paying attention to, whether you write pure technology insurance or just general commercial insurance. Technology risk is a big component of that.
And the insurance landscape is evolving at a very rapid rate through, but from a bunch of different levers, whether it's automation, technology, M&A, right? These all impact the independent agency system. So if you're an agency leader and you're beginning to think, well, what does my agency look like in 3, 5, I think even beyond that, who knows, just because of how quickly things are changing. What would be, let's say, your pitch to an agency to say, hey, you may be an overall generalist, but you really should be focusing on technology?
Yeah, well, I think if you talk to any consultant, and I've talked to a lot of them, they're the people that are out there buying agencies are looking for very specific things. One of which, and I'm not a proponent of completely selling out across the board, but that's an option for a lot of firms that don't have a perpetuation plan. Companies are looking to acquire agents and brokers that have vertical specialty units, right? So not just generalists, people that have business units developed around particular industries. But beyond that, it's around the economies of tomorrow, not looking backward on, what was good commercial business 20, 30 years ago, what's going to be good commercial business 20 years from now, and building your expertise based on that. And so I don't think there's anyone that would dispute everything's going to involve technology in the future, right? So focusing on that vertical in particular is going to set you up for whether you're going to be here in 20 years or whether you're going to go the acquisition route. That's a really smart play if you're looking to develop expertise.
And so you speak about economies of tomorrow, but let's talk about the insured today, right? They're very tech savvy, especially as millennials continue to be a dominant player in the market where we grew up, um, being tech native for the most part. So, what should an agency be doing to really meet that customer, that new wave customer, where they are today?
I talk to a lot of agency owners that grossly misunderstand what their clients want. And they're
Hmm.
like, no, this is just how we do it. And I think that's a real problem in the industry, that we're not thinking about what is it that our clients want? How do they want to communicate with us? And we need to deliver all the different options, whether it's like there are people, buyers, insureds that don't want to speak to anyone. They just want to transact everything digitally. You need to have that as part of your solution. And if you don't, they will go somewhere else that offers their journey that they want to have. You also have people that like traditional, pick up the phone. I want to talk to someone. I want someone in my office. You need to offer that too. You need to offer chatbots for the people that want quick service and don't want to go through a whole fill out a form, wait 24 hours to get a response. So you need to be thinking about what is it that we can do to reach as many customers as possible and give them the client journey that they want to have, which pretty much involves implementing a lot of different technologies in your agency management stack, because there's not a one stop solution. It would be great if every AMS would just plug in and it would work across all channels.
Hmm.
It's not the case. You got to deploy multiple different insuretech solutions, and interview your clients. Do a survey of a random sampling of clients and say, if we offered a chat bot or this, would a mobile app, would you take advantage of that? They're going to say yes. So, I'll spare you the survey, and you can just invest in those things, because that's what people want.
Yeah, and that actually brought up as you were talking. I was thinking about these agencies, and I really began to think about two key questions. And at Beyond Insurance, when we're working with the Beyond Insurance Global Network, those network of agencies, we're constantly being approached by all these different insuretechs or technology, primarily technology focused organizations, and they're trying to connect with the right type of agency. So if you're an agency leader and you're trying to figure out, there's hundreds of different insuretechs out there, where do I even begin? Where should an agency begin when it comes to figuring out what type of technology would be the right technology to deliver the right customer experience for the clients that they're trying to serve?
That's a great question, and there's not a great answer.
Hmm.
There's a platform called Coverager that does a very good job of tracking who does what for what different value chain. There's a new organization, and had I been prepped for this question, I would have had it on the ready for you. There are organizations out there that are tracking the various insuretechs. Insuretech it's there's so many different industries within that term. We think of it through our own lens. If you're a broker or agent, you think broker tech type solutions, but it's carriers, it's claims, it's all different types of insurance. So navigating through those waters is very tricky.
Hmm.
Um, my recommendation is go to insuretech conferences, sit on the panel or sit in the room with the broker panels and listen to whom they're speaking about. Pick the brain, find if you can grab coffee with somebody who's speaking. just learn from what other people are doing and copy and paste what makes sense. There's some really good agents out there that are doing a lot of this stuff that are more than happy to tell you, we tried this and it didn't work, so
Mhm.
we had to implement all these other solutions. Because you're right, you don't want to go down the road of investing in these technologies, which are not inexpensive, and to have them fail. And they will fail if you don't plan properly and you don't train your staff, you don't train your clients to use them. And I've heard, well, it doesn't work. No one's using it. Well, dig a bit deeper. Did you train your account executives on how to present it to the clients? And did you train your clients on how to use it? Otherwise, they might not even know it's there. So it is the $1 million question right now. How do you know what stack you need? You really got to find a mentor in the industry, find a worthy rival,
Mhm.
and say, would you mind sharing your thoughts with me? And most of the time, they'll say sure.
And this is gonna now you're making me go down all these different rabbit holes. So here's another one that I don't think that we spoke about previously, but I think you and I would agree that if you have the right technologies in place, it should either save your organization money, make you more efficient, or improve your customer experience, which increases lifetime value. In your conversations with agencies, have there been any common objections? Like, what are those common roadblocks, perhaps, that you might have seen that really prevent an agency from pulling the trigger on something that I think even perhaps many of those agency owners know could be a good idea? Is it just lack of trust in the product? Is it just not being familiar with technology and how it might become the ROI of using it? Like, what are you saying?
I think it's a couple of things. Agency leadership, still by and large in our industry, tends to be a more senior level individual. So the average age of a broker still mid 50s, right? And that translates right into leadership. So
Hmm.
it's a different generation that did not grow up with technology like we did. And so the mindset is already immediately a little bit distrustful of all of these things. And it's very easy if you don't come from that world. And even younger people, if you don't come from the technology world, it's very easy to get overwhelmed with tech jargon and just rather bury your head in the sand than to
Yep.
try and figure out what solution's actually going to work. But the other problem is agency principals have also seen firsthand how launching something new, changing a workflow, is met with immediate resistance from both sales and service. It's just, we're an industry that does not embrace change.
Hmm.
We like things to be, very stable and to operate how they operated 20, 30, 100 years ago. And so you implement a new CRM tool and your producers are like, I'm not going to use, you're going to make me plug in all this information multiple times. Nope, not doing it.
Hmm.
So you have to fight that battle with your own staff. You don't want your staff to be unhappy. So I think those are the big challenges. It's, we've all experienced, I think most people have an agency management system conversion, right?
Hmm.
Whether you do it routinely, most people end up doing it once, maybe twice throughout their career. It's just not an easy process. And that's what immediately springs to mind of frustrated customers, frustrated teammates, just complete
Yep.
chaos. And so that's what most people envision when we're talking about rolling out a new technology. Just the eye rolls start immediately. And there's a real reluctance to embrace that.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. If really your main experience with insurance, with insuretechs or technology in our space is that AMS transition, I can wholeheartedly see why there'd be a lot of hesitancy because I don't know if I've heard of any agency that has gone through that and been excited or come out with less gray hair on the other end of that process. But it is one of those necessary evils, right? As we go through the evolution of an agency. If we go a little further, though, in terms of insuretechs, do you have any insights into what is the future of insuretechs? Do you see anything on the horizon, either any trends or specific companies that you're saying, hey, this could be really interesting? And if you're a forward thinking organization, you may want to consider something in this space.
Yeah, well, I think for anyone listening, the Broker Tech Ventures organization is a really good one to watch. So this is was launched a couple of years ago by some pretty prestigious independent insurance agencies, um, all in the top 100. So really tier one independent brokers. Disclosure, TechAssure has a few members that sit on the Broker Tech Ventures membership. And they do a great job of, they have an accelerator program, several different towers that they operate under, but the accelerator program just graduated its first cohort. They're into their second now. That's a good one to track because they have really smart brokers that have seen 100+ insuretechs that year and picked a handful. So you can bet that that handful is a good group to track.
Hmm.
So I'd say that's an easy, just kind of peek over the shoulder of what some others have done. That's a good one. For me, I think AI, machine learning, deep learning is going to be the game changer. And I don't think it's quite there yet. And there are going to be people that immediately bristle and disagree with me and say, it is here, it's working. And I agree with that. But I think where it's going to be in 5 years, it's going to be transformational. And
Hmm.
there are companies out there. There's a company, Chisel, that we've engaged with a number of times over the past few years, and they're able to do coverage comparisons or policy checking that they've done the pilots with a team of agents and brokers looking for mistakes, from the binder to the issued policy, and their machine can do it in zero point 0.1 seconds, and it's better results. They
Wow.
find things that people didn't find, and it's not to eliminate people's jobs. It's to repurpose them into roles that can empower them to run that technology and to do more work faster, better. So I think that AI in underwriting, in agency management, it's going to be the thing that feels really futuristic. On
Hmm.
the machines are able to do all of this for us, and so we're no longer the order takers of placing insurance for people. We're able to tap into a machine that can help us understand, you know, um, how do we design coverage for a particular industry vertical and
Hmm.
for this particular revenue size, and what kinds of claims does that industry see most, and how can we best position them for avoiding those claims or managing them properly. That's something a machine can be taught to do very, very well. So I think it's pretty exciting.
Hmm.
I don't think it's nearly the fearful thing that a lot of people think of. We're all going to be out of jobs. I don't think that's the case. I think we're going to just be doing them much better.
Yep. And I think you also have to put into perspective that many will also agree that there is a talent shortage as well in this industry. So when you think about where the industry is going, I mean, if there's less people coming into the industry, but we have technology that can take over some of those more mundane, processed, consistent, processed oriented tasks, that could make up that gap in talent, right? With a machine that was able to replicate it a lot. But admittedly, this could sound quite intimidating. I mean, you mentioned things like AI, or I think you mentioned deep learning, right? Like these types of terms could make an agent or an agency very nervous about the future of their organization and their ability to compete. Um, what would you say to them? Like, how does TechAssure really step in here, and what exactly do you guys do to really help an agency make sure that they're tech forward?
Well, so if you think about who TechAssure's members' clients are,
Hmm.
they're tech companies, they're life science companies, they're venture capital, private equity companies that invest in tech and life science. They truly do not understand why the insurance industry operates like it's in the 1950s.
Hmm.
We still have fax machines and things that, so if you're working with certain types of clients, they absolutely reject the state of how we like conducting business, and they want they want an automated solution. They want to work with brokers that have a better client journey. And
Mhm.
so that was my focus really for many years now, is bringing the solutions that I found that really solve problems, because I worked as a retail broker. So I do know a lot of those pain points. And for example, in 2016, the very first Insuretech Connect, I met Mike Furlong from Indio. Just randomly met a friend at a bar. Mike was there. We hit it off. Indio didn't even have their product yet, but he
Mhm.
just told me what it was. And I was like, if you can build that, it's going to be a game changer for people. Because when I first got into the industry, and again, coming from tech and entertainment industry, and I was like, all right, these things called certificates of insurance, they seem important, and how do we get them to our clients? And the answer was, well, that our clients pick up the phone and they call Sherry, and Sherry will mail them a copy. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Sherry's not even very friendly to deal with. So
Mhm.
that's not a fun solution. And surely we can do better. But the industry just hadn't evolved to that point where we can make, a simple process like certificates of insurance or renewal applications an easier thing for clients.
Mhm.
We put up with it because it's the business that we're in and we understand the importance. Clients don't understand why we need all the paper that we need, and the duplication of entry on just over and over, year after year. So if you can build a better solution for that client, you're going to gravitate the more forward thinking clients, which are going to be the ones that are around for the next 10, 20 years.
Mhm. And so then with that in mind, let's flip it around. There's going to be people that are going to listen to this and think, wow, Garrett really knows this stuff. And I'm really actually excited about the future of the industry and my role and what technology can do both within the industry, but also working with those tech enabled organizations. What can that person do to be better educated and more well versed in technology related risks?
You know, the way I learned was reading policies and really doing the hard work of educating myself, because I wanted to be the best I could be for my clients, and they just happen to be tech startups. And so I did a lot of self-educating. I went to a lot of conferences around the tech industry to understand, on a deeper level. I talked to my underwriters. I would take them out to lunch and say, my tech specific underwriters,
Hmm.
say, what are you seeing? How can someone like me start to gain success in this industry? That's a great way to do it. Um, Today we've got resources like the Betterly reports, which are really, really good. Rick Betterly's consultant that produces a number of reports for different industries and different product lines, and techie, is one of those. Cyber is another, and they're just phenomenal coverage comparisons, industry updates on what's the state of the current marketplace, who's in, who's out, who's doing various things. And even if you just read the summary page on that one report, you would be fairly knowledgeable about what is possible in today's marketplace and who the right markets might be to target a certain client. So that's an easy place that I think a lot of people could start.
No, that's perfect. And so, as we wrap up, and before I ask you what the best way is for someone to get in touch with you and learn more about TechAssure, I want to commend you because as we were discussing all the different technologies that can become available, or the future of the independent agency, or the future of what an ideal client might look like, I can see how this could be very exciting for agents that may have been in the industry for a while and really looking for that next step, or that next vertical that they want to tackle, or that newer agent. One of the things that I always like to say is one of the most wonderful things about our industry is you can really serve whatever industry you would like, but you get the stabilization of an industry that does not really get rocked by a lot of things, which is that insurance industry, and still make a lot of money off of it. And so if I were an agent thinking about where I might want to go with my career, and I was early on in my career, I'd be thinking tech could be a great opportunity to really begin expanding my knowledge and area of expertise? Because it seems like there's a large opportunity to become that expert in this space.
Yeah, you're right. There's not a lot of brokers that specialize in this area. I mean, that's really why TechAssure is so unique in the
Hmm.
organization, because we've brought together really the thought leaders of the space, just to share information, share ideas, best practices, because there's not a lot of us out there.
Yeah.
That just represents a great opportunity for someone, young producer. That's what I did. Um, I say there's a lot of producers that specialize in golf course insurance,
Hmm.
right? You got a lot of competition in that vertical. Technology, you could be the only person in your marketplace that focuses on tech or life science, and you got to look at your geography. Not every
Yep.
region is a pure tech hub or a life science hub. But take an industry like manufacturing. Manufacturing looks more like a tech risk today than a manufacturing account from 10 years ago,
Yeah.
because they're using machine learning and remote access, and there's all kinds robotics. There are components to that industry risk profile that traditional manufacturing producers don't really understand. So if
Hmm.
you could build some expertise in a traditional industry that has a tech exposure, I think you could carve out a nice niche. And cyber is the easy one.
Yep.
It's the cool and sexy part of the industry that everyone kind of likes that. People like talking about it because it's in every newspaper every single week. Uh, and again, most brokers are writing cyber, thankfully now, but still don't really understand it.
Right.
And it's the wild west with insurance markets, because you've got 100 different flavors of a cyber program. If you actually understood the differences and which market was appropriate for which types of clients, you'd find a lot of opportunity in the marketplace for where cyber was written incorrectly,
Hmm.
and you could be the solution. And it could be a traditional commercial type risk, construction, architects, engineers, whatever vertical you like. If you add that cyber component, that's going to be a differentiator for you as well. So, yeah, that's my advice. I'm all for it. I don't want to scare anyone on all these terms and make it seem like the robots are coming, because I think it's exciting. I think
Yeah.
where the
I
industry is
agree.
going to be in the next decade is it's going to be fun. It's going to move very quickly. We're all going to be energized by new tools, new resources. So I think it's a positive. That's how I'll wrap things up. And if anyone wants to connect with me, pretty easy. TechAssure is techassure.org on the internet. My email is garrett@techassure.org. More than happy to have a conversation with anyone about anything that I said here. And feel free to debate me, challenge me if I said anything that you disagree with. I'm all for that as well.
Awesome. Well, Garrett, I want to say thank you again for joining us on today's program.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Awesome.